Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a Grotmas review with, new information, time under our belts to experiment with things, and just, some follow-up thoughts. Everybody's put out their, tier list, and that's not shade, that's the natural progression of things. I don't think I'll be doing a tier list, and the fact that I don't really feel like arguing with people in my comments about, wow, you put Lion's Blade Task Force in A, but you put Star Shatter in B. How could you do this? I don't really feel like doing that. So I just want to put out my thoughts on the Grotmist detachments. I already gave my thoughts in on Christmas about this past Christmas. Who knows when you're watching this in the future? This past Christmas of my Grotmas as a whole, where it's like, come on now, why is Blade and Force still lowercase out of everything? So things like that. That was for all of those ideas. But now, just going to talk about the detachments that we received. I'm going to try not to yap too long when we get to my main ones. Tyranids, Necrons, kind of orcs, but we'll see. Death Guard, Flyblown Host. I ragged on Death Guard for a good portion of December, and I do not take it back. That was infuriating. However, Death Guard, I do have to thank you. It was the learning, it was the first one that you had to really understand you have to make a different list. Well, of course, it was the first one, but this was really a lesson for everybody into you have to make a different list. You can't do the same thing you've been doing all year and wonder why it's not working. You have to make a fly-blown host list. Even your index is good, but triple Plague Burst Crawler, triple War Dog, Rodigus, Morty, two bricks of Death Shroud Terminators. We learned it asked you to do things with infantry, put infantry, and we finally got there. So for that fly-blown host, I'm glad that it was what some people wanted. And the fact people wanted a zombie. Is it the Plague Eater virus? I'm sorry, Death Guard, I forget your lore right now. But finally get bodies, zombie horde to do the thing with infantry, and it actually turns out to be pretty okay. Lion's Blade Task Force. I want more Dark Angels players to try it. That's what I want. I know that it had popularity that first week because what else were you going to try that first week? But then it fell off, and I don't really know why. I don't know how good or how bad we are ending on this. It still has a pretty cool strat, and I haven't seen anybody try out my idea of if this is a mech list. I think, I'm still saying, I think if you just add more mech into it, it can be pretty nice. But hey, what do I know? I don't really play DA. I just think there's potential there. And there's Dark Angels players on the rise right now. There's Vanguard Spearhead, Gladius Task Force. I think I saw some inner circle no, that's the unit. Inner Circle Task Force. There we go. Is it Inner Circle Task Force? Whatever. There's been more DA being played, and it's just kind of odd that I don't know more about what's going on with this. Now, we get to one of my factions, my main faction, and I'm going to try not to go on for too long because I've released several videos talking about this specifically. Just released a video talking about Tyranids position in the game right now overall. I don't really need to harp on it any further. But this is one of my. It's disappointing, not just because I have a thing for warriors, a thing against warriors, I should say. It's just points. I don't understand some of the excuses we make for it. It's like it's okay. They can just be there. Anywho, moving on from that. Um, it doesn't offer anything new in the grand scheme of what it's asking you to do. It does have the highest damage capability in an activation, which is cool. I have made a. Well, I shouldn't say technically the highest damage, because, I mean, if you factor in possibly hitting all sixes on 60 shots of barb gaunts in Invasion Fleet with sustained lethals, technically that's probably the highest damage cap we have. But for making a wound go from wounding on fives to wounding on twos, this is the only one that can do that, if I remember correctly. But we have lethal aura, and so on and so forth. I say all that to say that it's not interesting so far. I expected more people to bring this out and show the world the power of warriors. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible with the current state of this. A 5 up invulnerable save is nice on boys and crude hunting pack because you're accounting for multiple bodies. Multiple cheap bodies. 25 points per model for 6 models is much different than like 8 points a model for, or sorry, 8.5 points a model for 10 models. That's very different, right? So, I don't know. Eh, I don't even know what could change about it to make it more appealing to everybody. But they really tried on that. Hey, remember Space Marines 2 where you encountered warriors? You liked fighting warriors, so here's warriors. And if that appeals to somebody like Arcane has appealed to the general populace and got people to play League, or Fallout the show has made people want to try out Fallout. There's probably another big one that I'm blanking on right now. Maybe Marvel Rivals made you try Marvel movies again. Oh no, I said that to say that if this is what brings somebody into trying the game, fuck it, let it be, I guess. But for me, still not impressed. Thousand Suns Hexwarp Thrall Band. My benchmark for the Grotmas detachments is, can I do something interesting or better than what I could already do? And Thousand Suns Hexwarp Thrall Band, congratulations, you did meet that benchmark. After a couple of, you know, hours and brain racking, right? Um, there were some things that were at least different enough to be semi appealing to me. I made that as a video. I put out a video for that one. If you are interested in something interesting, it doesn't. I'm not saying that it's good. Not saying it's bad. Well, it's probably bad. Whatever, right? But I don't play Thousand Suns. It's just something different. Maybe do it against your friend. See how much you laugh. That's all I was going for. So, Hexwarp Thrallband, you're kind of forgiven. Still needs to be better. Halo's Creed Battleclade. I have an interesting relationship with this one, into which I seem to be higher up on AdMech than other people. Not to say, like, I think, oh, they're that busted, or oh, they're just so good right now. I just find them interesting. I don't play them, but from afar, they seem interesting to me. And Halo's Creed, I was much more lukewarm than everybody else was on release. That'll be a common thread here, I guess. Um, and then people came back to reality, I guess, and then I was like, well, now you all convinced me. Into which, when it released, you go, oh, this is the best one that's got released so far. To which, that was correct. The competition was this. Um, Warriors getting a 5-up info. Hooray. Um, Dark Angels had a pretty good strat. This is pretty good, but the detachment rule, eh. And Death Guard kept saying that they don't like their infantry. So, you know, the competition wasn't the stiffest. And to that point, though, I was sitting there like, well, you're still playing with AdMech data sheets. And everybody's like, whoa! So then I buy into the woo, and then everybody's like, yeah, I'm still playing AdMech. So it felt kind of weird. I still think it's pretty good. I just don't think AdMech has enough specialists right now that are willing to leave Skitarii Hunter cohort. And I guess to that point, I don't think it's nearly as far away from Skitarii Hunter cohort as people are trying to make it seem. I think that there's more there that just needs to be tapped into, and it has potential. I don't know how strong overall because you're still playing Admech, but it has potential. Necron Star Shatter Arsenal. Man, did I call it or did I call it? My hot take was that after, of course, my first day when I went, whoa, this is amazing, whoa. If you look at my other videos after that, my hot take has been that people are over preparing for a T9 vehicle, and to which called that shit. It is just okay. I knew that it was just okay. Again, kind of like what happened with Admech, though. When the things that happen around you are, we just had to deal with Sisters Bringers of Flame, so now we just act like Assault is the only thing that matters, even though we had Montka and Renegade Raiders not necessarily being the end all be all. And we're talking about a vehicle with heavy on it, so it's not like it really wants Assault. And then Imperial Agents and Thousand Suns Hex Warp Thrall Band releases around you. So, it's. I saw what was going on. I also have this as a longer video if you want the longer thoughts, but it's like, come on now. We're talking about it's beating lists that have zero anti tank and no infantry to touch the blast vehicle. I'm not that impressed, and slowly but surely, everybody's like, oh, okay, I guess the rules were like, alright. I guess I don't always stand on the objective with my entire army, right? So, hey. Index Deathwatch. I'm weird in the fact that I don't really know why this is a Grotmas attachment. I understand that it's under here for downloads, but like, it's a faction. Coming back? I don't really get that part. But to this point, this might be a mini tangent, or not a tangent, a rant, because I don't. You know what? I'll save the rant and shorten it to the fact that Deathwatch, please don't mess it up. Please actually play it again. And you go, what are you talking about, you piece of. Like, well, we knew Deathwatch was okay at one point in this edition. Then people stopped playing it randomly. Then it gets announced that it's about to go away. Then all of a sudden everybody cares about Deathwatch, even though it had like one player per month. And then it tops on its way out, and people go, wait, Deathwatch was good? It's the same thing that happened with GSC. The codex gets released. I go, what's the issue here? People go, no, it's just terrible. It's so bad. Somebody finally tries with the GSC codex. It starts doing good, but because GW heard that it was so bad, they find a way to buff it, and now everybody's like, well, why are you buffing the thing? So now Index Deathwatch is back. It's kind of fucking cracked, but the player population might not be there to show how cracked it is, but it is already doing kinda enough. So, Deathwatch players, enjoy this now. Maybe don't win every tournament just so, keep it kind of on the low down, right? But please play Deathwatch. I don't want it to come back, people that have the army, and then just say, well, that was nice to take for a spin one time, and then nobody touches it again. Now, if you're an Imperial Agents player, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This was, to a grander point, the only detachment in which I couldn't find a redeeming quality for the cost, right? There was a thing or two you could do that you can't do other places. Technically, eh, but the cost is too great. I just don't see wanting to do this. It's based around four epic heroes, and it just doesn't. It doesn't do. It doesn't do. So unless you can say, hey, in this detachment you can run a bajillion, like, and maybe you make them battle line. Hey, that's certainly the fix for things. Make a battle line. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I don't know. It needs help. I don't know what help it could possibly receive, but it needs help. Solar Spearhead. This makes me mad for a completely different reason. In the fact that it's good, And I don't know what's going on where we have started this, custodies aren't that good. And then they keep beating ass, specifically one person, because only one person wants to bring them right now. I try to tell you with Talons, we should have known that it actually was okay when Null Maiden Vigil was their quote unquote best detachment. Then Shield Host, because those were the only two people even tried. And then finally they went, well, I guess I can take Sisters with Talons. And guess what? Here we are. So, here we go again with Solar Spearhead and being proven that it is actually kind of good. Why do people think that it's not that good? Because it says Dreadnought. It says vehicle. It also says walker. So that means I have to fill my list with only walkers, right? No, you do not need to do that. Play the thing if you have a Custodes army. If you already have a Custodes army. To that point. The same way I will dissuade anybody from trying to buy 72 fucking warriors to play this detachment. I will dissuade you from trying to buy Forge World just to play this one. Um, I also don't want to fight with this one, so that's the other thing too. But yeah, it's good. I still am waiting for people to answer my question of what do you do versus a land raider with -1 to wound, strength graded and toughness, that whole thing, that goes through walls and dumps wardens in your face. What do you do? I'm still waiting for that answer, and I'm waiting for people to realize that's a thing you can do because I see that we are really stuck on the dreadnought part. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to take Telemons and venerable contemptors that can fight on death and then stand back up. That's pretty sick, but I don't know, I feel there's more that can be explored there. Chaos Knights, I kinda class fiefdom. This is one where I was wrong. Um well, kind of wrong. I was excited about this. And I'm not unexcited about this, but it's just it takes too much. And not as a like, oh, it takes so much to pilot Chaos Knights. I mean, that's probably true too. But more so that it eats too much of the damned units for this to be a consistent value. I understand that they probably wanted to play it safe so that you don't give a Knight Despoiler fucking sustained lethals non-stop throughout the game. But right now it feels more of a the 500 points is very limiting. I'd say crank that shit to either 750 or 1000 even. If you're going to go, let it go. The world, whatever the lyrics to let it go are. But yeah, you just eat too much. Takes up too much. You get to pop your rule like 3 or 4 times in the game because they're also fragile units. So if you keep them back so you can eat them later, that's not helping you. And if you put them forward, you can't eat them to help you. So need some number tweaks. That's pretty much it. Questor Forge Pact. This is one that I am more impressed with than I initially was. Um, it's not better than the Chaos Knights, but it does have more play than I think there is. This is another one that is just number tweaks. Healing one wound at a time isn't that impressive. Yay, I could make it 2 with the enhancement. Woo! Like, it needs to be maybe D3, if not 2 to 3. It needs to be something a little bit more, just for me to be excited about it. And to just play better. If you're going to give up the option of feel no pain, you might as well give me actual healing to sustain and the limited pool of the AdMech allies that they have things. They have things. Don't get me wrong, they have things, but it just needs number tweaks and then it'll be even better. It has 2 strats that are pretty good. Ignore modifiers, including ignore modifiers to wound, and one that is Overwatch for a Titanic unit. So has play, just needs numbers. Grey Knights, Warp Bane Task Force. I don't know where to lie on this one because uh nobody's playing it, and the people I have seen play it have gone wildly around. Some people are doing great with it, some people are doing awful with it, And this is another thing for me where I look at it, look at what I'm seeing, and go, well, why didn't you take the good thing? Or the thing that's like really good and it'll just get better here? But that's my very limited knowledge of what Grey Knights even do. So, I don't know. I just see that there's a lot more flexibility with this in the rules than one may think. And I'm waiting for that ingenuity to really crack this wide open. So, Space Marines Librarius Conclave. I didn't know what to think about it at release, but within that first day, people found good things to do. And if there are good things to do within it, fine. We take that. Sorry, it's short Space Marine players. I don't play Space Marines, and I really can't say anymore besides people have found funky things to do with this. And that's nice. Creations of Bile. I am lower on this than I was. I understand now what CSM players were saying where it's cool and it's nice. It's actually kind of strong on top of that if you roll right. But it's more of the same. I understand that now, especially with having this. Um, Looking through some of the other CSM detachments, it is more of the same, but with a different twist, I guess. So, I hope people are enjoying it. Some people seem to be enjoying it, and that's all that can be asked. Drukari, Reaper's Wager. Man, that took a while for elf players to calm down. Um, Drukari players, not like the Drukari players, okay, realized that there was some stuff here, and now they are all realizing that this is probably the best Drukari detachment currently. And it's flavorful and fun. So, cool. I really didn't understand the initial arguments. It's like, but it tells me to take the bad things. It's like, no, it doesn't actually. It just says Drukari or Drukari. I'm sorry, Drukari or Harlequins. So like, nobody told you you had to take the bad things of either of those halves, and I'm glad people figured that out. Now, talking about the bad things, Eldari Armored Warhost. Orcs Tactical Brigade. Eldari Armored Warhost. Ooh, it's a rough one. It's a rough one. It's a rough one. I just there's the argument of, well, when it's probably written with the codex in mind, so things will change and this will get better, and I don't see how any of the rules written here can get better by a codex release. Unless they redo every data sheet, and then even then, the rules don't help. It. It doesn't. They are repeats of, like, there's two that say something about deep strike in a transport. You can get out, but you can't do anything or something like that. I don't know what was going on here, and I really don't know if it's ever. Well, of course, everything's savable, right? Somebody could just write something that said, "Hey, ignore all of this. Here's a new detachment. We try it again." Right? That is possible, but I don't. I don't know. Oof, that's a rough one. I think this is my pick for the worst one during all of Grotmas. I don't think it's close. Tactical Brigade, Orcs. I think it's good. I did also jump on the, oh, this is the best Orcs detachment. I think that's less true because of the stratagems. The stratagems don't do much, and I think people are. I said this in a video too. I imagine this video is going up after that one. But I I think people are more so finding out about tank busters and breakaboys. Don't get me wrong, +1 strength is nice. Stealth, benefit of cover, also nice. And +1 to hit for ranged. Good, right? Nice. However, I don't know how far a detachment rule I'm repeating stuff. I'm sorry. If you've watched both videos now, but I don't know how far a detachment rule takes you without stratagems to back it up. So don't get me wrong, it's pretty nice, pretty neat. I do like it, but I'm not. I don't think I'm 100 bought in on it is the best yet. I don't know. I need to see some more funky things with stratagems before I commit. Astra Militarum, Bridgehead Strike. Now, on the opposite end, this is my winner for the best Grotmas detachment. It's a thing that Guard want to do anyway. We've seen infantry list. I don't understand. This is much like the Custodes, where I understand, yes, it says Scions, it said Walker, but we know that you can put other things in it, and those other things work. So I don't understand when it's like, oh, yeah, I was really hoping for an infantry detachment because Guard has come out now. Like, I've seen that a lot, and I'm confused because I'm like, isn't this the infantry detachment? As a non Guard player, I just don't understand because I'm like, isn't it right here? It says your infantry does things. But it looks cool. It looks nice. It has been proven to be pretty good too. So there's that. Chaos Demons, Legion of Excess. Legion of Excess, excuse me. I am lower on this, but not because of the rules. The rules are still cranked to hell. I am lower on this because Shalaxi is like the only heavy hitter. And there needs to be more consistent heavy hitters. Don't get me wrong, I don't feel like being dev wounded to death. However, if the only strength I have to worry about is Salaxi, after that's done, it's done. So Legion of Excess, cool. Actually, very good. It has interesting win rates right now. Last I checked, but the range needs like one or two heavy hitters. Beside, like, if the Keeper of Secrets gets buffed, yeah, Keeper of Secrets gets buffed, it'll probably be cranked. Don't know if that would happen, but just saying. Scintillating Legion. This definitely to me is the worst of the four Chaos Demon detachments. But after cooking a little bit, I think there's more to it. I don't think. See, this is the thing, right? I think even with the cooking, it is still the worst of the four. But because this is cranked to hell, this is pretty good. And this is. That's like. There's also like two good rules there. So this one gives you the least consistent value. The other three at least give you consistency. This requires too much thinking to make it work, if I'm being honest. Like, that's the thing, right? To make it the best on a day, you need to do significantly more thinking and work, which is, of course, par for the course for Zinch. Flavorful. Um, but if you're trying to win games, you need to think less about what your detachment does and what's going on the board. And there's nothing wrong with just playing for fun. I'm not saying that you can't do that. I get too many comments where it's just like, yeah, you say one thing about one, and then people get mad at you for the other. So when I tell people to play things casually, yes, I understand that it might not win a GT. I understand that. And when I say something about it winning a GT, I'm not telling you you can't play casually. I'm just saying if you do want to take this out, it might require more thinking and more trickery than most people are comfortable with exploring, and maybe against their friends or throughout the course of 2-3 days at a tournament. So it has things there. The data sheets, it probably is the best user of a soul grinder. Blood Legion, two interesting detachment rules. The stratagems make me feel like Tactical Brigade, where there's things there. There's things there, but one or two that I would use consistently. But it's just needs a little bit more on the stratagem side. The enhancements are good, interesting at least. Um, and both of the army, I'm sorry, the detachment rules are neat too. So that's a win. Yeah, it's a win. I'll just leave it at that. I don't need to say anymore. It's a win. Chaos Demons Plague Legion. Ah, man, when I went back and made that video to see how wrong I was about it on first read, this is really good. But much like Legion of Excess, it's the only thing that's holding it back is the fact that you don't have a consistent big thing killer. If it just gets that, if Rodriguez goes to swinging with strength 11 because you asked the Great Unclean One to take it down a notch or something like that, then you're in business. But it just needs something to consistently pop big things, preferably at range, I guess. But Plague Legion, really good. Honestly, in hindsight, maybe it is the best one. Maybe it's over Slanesh because there is more consistent value thanks to ooh ah I don't know. They're tied for first. Tied for first. Leagues of Votan Hearthband. I'm sorry that this is going to be apparently a hot take, but going through it, mathematically, it is better than Oathband. Rerolling ones compared to needing a judgment token to have +1 to hit is mathematically better, and you still have Grim Efficiency to give that +1 to hit. You add in reroll hit rolls with 1. Mathematically better. Call has lethal hits. Reroll ones, +1 to hit. Mathematically better. If another token happens, +1 to wound. You understand where I'm going with this. It's technically mathematically better. It doesn't interact with the army rule. And that, as a Tyrannus player, I can understand how annoying that is. It the stratagems are lacking too. There's one that's good with a 4-up invuln for the phase. That's cool. I also will say between the detachment rule and the enhancements, that's things that other armies or detachments would be paying for in stratagems. So it's a bit odd how they did it. They said, we don't have ways to give you CP because this is an oath band. But here's a bunch of things so that you don't have to use CP. I understand the design direction, and I think Votan needs a wider player base and a fucking wider range to explore this a bit more. Because after reviewing, I can understand people's disappointment. Again, I understand your disappointment, right? I can get it. But just if you are interested in the efficiency aspect of it, technically this is more efficient. Uh, do I want to dedicate? I don't know. Somebody can take other math and prove me wrong. But from what I gathered, it should be more efficient in most cases. Except for, what was it? I think monsters might be different. Specifically, I don't remember right now, but yeah. I don't know. If you play Votan, try it a time or two. Try not to focus too much on the token aspect and just the re-rolling ones into whoever you are looking at that's closest to you or within engagement range and see what happens. GSC, final day. I, as a Tyrannus player, love it. GSC players seem to also like it. And it seems to be good. I don't think I've seen anybody try it out, which was surprising considering the volume we just saw GSC. And even to that point, you say, yeah, GSC got changed. Of course, nobody's doing it. But from what I gather of GSC players, it's more consistent. Therefore, it's better than what the previous one was. The Army rule, I'm sorry. The Army rule is more consistent than what the previous one was. So it's odd that I'm not seeing more GSC players again right now. However, that's probably because everybody is chasing the new hotness and taking out the armies. It's not like GSC had a large player base before. They turned out to be pretty damn good. So I don't know. We'll see in the coming weeks, I guess, where Final Day lands. Champions of Faith, Sisters. Um, ooh, not ooh in a bad way. Ooh in a kind of like Votan, where the people that have experimented with this, well, Votan hasn't had anybody experiment, so that's a different situation. But Sisters, I've seen good results from playing Sisters in general so far. With after the nerf this past weekend, I think most of the Sister players I saw went 4-1, maybe 3-2, but it was pretty fine. Champions of Faith, I'm fairly certain was one of the 4-1s. Again, I think it's a wording issue. Don't get me wrong. I don't really know why they went so aggressive on nerfing Sisters, but at the same time, I'm going to say this again. You don't want to activate 3 units at the same time. For the buff that you're getting, you don't want to do that. And then, yes, what if I lose all three? That's Miracle Dice I'm losing out on. Yeah, you're missing out on 2 Miracle Die. Um, but you also lost 3 units, right? Like that's massive in itself. You shouldn't be compensated so hard for leaving out 3 units. So with Champions of Faith, if you're not a melee player, it'll feel weird. Where you just go, oh, okay, so I'm going to put this out and call it done. But if you play melee or you know melee or fight phase army players, you understand that you shouldn't be tossing everything out like your orcs during the wall, right? Beyond that, it's skirmish here, skirmish there, activate this, activate that, and then they get better, and that's good. So, Sisters players, try it out. I can't say you won't be disappointed, but I can say that other people haven't been so far. Blood Angels, Angelic Inheritors. This is the actual fan base that probably annoyed me the most out of Grotmas, because I get it. Liberator Assault Group, it's comfy, it's good, but to insinuate that reroll hits of one, reroll wound rolls of one, reroll advances, reroll charges, or the ones and fallback shoot and charge is not better than an ability you get only if you charge, not if you're charged into or anything else. Sustained hits on a Vindicator, a Whirlwind, whatever the hell. Lethal Lance, if you want that too. Loan up 18 inches for jump pack infantry that are 12-inch flying infantry, 12-inch movement flying infantry, like a chaplain with jump pack, with assault intercessors with jump packs attached with, can't be overwatched. So you loan up them 18. They move 12. Oh no, I have a 6-inch charge. Oh, thank goodness I can re-roll it for free. I don't know. It was just odd what was going on here. It's hard. I get it. You have something good already, but some of the things ask you to battle shock yourself if you really want the great value out of it. I don't know. This one was kind of ridiculous, but it's a pretty good detachment for everybody that was willing to try it. Blood Angels, I hope you're actually trying this insane detachment. Auxiliary Cadre. Tau players seem to really hate Kroot, but Kroot players seem to be living it up. Um, it's good. The same way people yelled at me, "Hey, listen, you can turn your exocrine from strength 9 to 11." And I go, "But I had a Maliceptor and Tyrannofex." Um, you can turn your Tiger Shark up 2 strength and plus 1 AP. Because did you know that thing is not Titanic? Man. So yeah, things like that are possible in Auxiliary Cadre. Can't wait to get tabled by that. So it's a good detachment. Not just off of that alone, of course, but you get to keep your scoring pieces alive, make them buffing pieces and scoring pieces, and that's my shit. I love that. Um, so yeah, it has potential, and I want more people to play it. It's weird because everybody's like, "No, please don't play Tau," and I'm like, "Please play Tau. Tell me how it goes. I'd love to see it more." Black Templars, Wrathful Procession. Now, I call this situational. And I don't know if that was fair, but I haven't been proven wrong. Um, but more so, I think the issue that I have with it wasn't from the detachment itself. I think my issue lies in Black Templars' kind of design, where it is fight phase based melee, but you're not quite Blood Angels, you're not quite Orcs, you're not quite World Eaters. I'm not too worried about Black Templars in the same way I'm worried about them. Because when the other ones start moving, you have to back up. Black Templars are the style of we are going to advance. Well, not literally advance. We're going to move towards you. And when we get there, we're going to hurt. That's the style that rubs off on me from Black Templars and their data sheets. So it's hard for me to gauge this more, especially when I'm not seeing people play it. But if we see another Black Tide list on the rise with Wrathful Procession, fuck it. I'm all in for it. Road Eaters, Vessels of Wrath. This is interesting because I might have been wrong to rate this as highly as I did. I don't think I said it was like a world ender or some shit like that. Or a world eater. But I don't know. The more my friend told me about the things that were already possible, so it was like more of the same in the instance of creations of bile and warrior bioform. It's like we can already kind of do this, and I'm like, so wait, you have a way to reliably get sustained, lethal, and advanced in charge? He's like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, so you get that, and then another thing. He's like, but I could get that too. I'm like, so you get all of those, and then another thing? Isn't that insane? And I think it's really player dependent from what I've seen on what you really value. I've seen people have a blast with this, and I've seen people have not a blast with this. The stratagems, I am. It's a mixed bag because I have seen what um, Berserker Warband has to offer and think that that's kind of cool. But I'm really high on the idea of giving a Corn Lord of Skulls or Angron Brazen Contempt, minus one to wound if strength is greater than toughness, yada yada yada. And while it won't be affected by some of the other shit, you now have a minus one to wound Corn Lord of Skulls or Angron, and that's kind of scary. So, who knows? We'll see. Vessels of Wrath, mixed bag. And then Champions of Fenris. I found a thing that is different, and I don't know how well it works. I made that a video, and again, my bar is can I find something different? And it was something different. How well it works, nobody is giving it a chance, so it could be one of those things that down the line you go, wait, if I did do that, who's going to stop me? or it could just be that bad and we might never know because nobody's trying it. So, for the very least, I found a thing that is technically different, so it passes my benchmark, and that's that. But yeah, Grotmas overall, it seems like after that review, I am more down on Grotmas per se, but I'm not. If everything turned out to at least have something and be interesting for somebody and good to some, I'll take it. Grotmas was a good attempt and the execution needed work, but a good thing by GW. That's nice. Was it all a ploy for us to get more models? Probably, possibly. But all of these things can be fixed. They can be made more interesting. Some of us have been playing the same thing for a while. Tyrannage was one of the first codexes, so it's like, all right. And thankfully, they have been updating some of the things because it was one of the first codexes. But for somebody like Death Guard, you've only been playing one detachment, so I can only imagine how annoying as hell everything could be. But yeah, goal was met in my eyes. Do something different for most of the armies. Ha, I guess by my own metric, Warrior Bioform Onslaught fails overall. And I guess Creations of Bio, but it did it in a different way. Warriors, I don't know. But that's not just for me to harp on Warrior Bioform Onslaught. That's just to say most of these offered something different. Yeah, you could get close to what you were already doing, but doing it in a different way, maybe that's for somebody. And yeah, I guess that's alright. So, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.